want to get into the second half, of what we were going to talk about. I want to get a little bit more ditty gritty into your journey. I know not only have you actually done, or you obviously you have your own convention, but you are obviously an avid convention goer yourself in terms of
Right.
being able to market your brand for urban style comics. So, what I want to know, because this is even for me, this is for everyone else out here, who is on the convention scene, no matter what group you're with or whatever, and this can help you. I want people to listen because even if you're in the manga space, this is going to help you. Believe it. It's going to help you. And I know I'm wearing the Naruto shirt and I said believe it, so please don't say me for that. But in any case, how many conventions do you go to a year, would you say? On average, I know it may vary depending on the year, but like if you'd say maybe in the past 10 years, like every year, like how many would you say?
I try to make it to at least 5 conventions. I want to do more or whatever, but I have to get into particular conventions that I want to get back into. Like, want to get back into the San Diego Comic Con. I think I'm ready to get back there now. New York Comic Con, I would like to get back there again. Of course, Motor City Comic Con because that's local. We got the Black Comic Books Arts Festival that takes place in New York. That's pretty huge. We have, of course, Motor City Black Age. We have Kim Fest, which is in Jersey. I would like to get into Blurred Con, but I think Blurred Con is more for cosplayers. I'm not for sure, but from what I was told, that's the case. But I would like to go for myself just to see. I may just go visit it and check it out and see what it's all about before I make that decision. So it's usually about 5 a year, but I'm trying to, at this point, now I can start getting into doing more cons. But it has to be more this that's geared towards Black comic book creators. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Because I feel that when you do certain cons that are mainstream cons, it's a lot of money to do those cons. And if you're catching a plane to these cons, it's no way you can take all of your merchandise there to sell. You can take it, but you have to ship it. And if you're shipping it, that's, the cost of it is just crazy. But if you can drive to it, that's no issue at all because you can take a lot. But the thing of the matter, how much you're spending for that con, how much you're spending as far as your, stay there, your travels. You have in your when you're eating, your food, all that good stuff, lodging, all that has to be thought out. So that's what determines how many cons you do, and what do you think is going to help you out in the long run. And I do other events as well. Like if someone's doing something and they invite me, like I have in Detroit, it's a Dow show that's coming up in November. Sandy's Land it's a Dow show she's doing in November at Marygrove College. We'll be participating in that because of course I have the Dreadlocks action figures. So I got to have those there with, of course my books as well. So I'm looking forward to that, and that's local. So you have a lot of local events that's starting to kick off as well. And we have to think of it in the sense of you don't necessarily have to hit a Comic Con in order to get the recognition and get yourself out there, believe it or not. And I've learned that through the years from when I used to go to African World Festival or the Caribbean festivals out in Chicago. And I learned that from Brother Dawood when he was telling me about the Black Expos back then. Because I would go to Chicago Black Expo, St. Louis Black Expo, and Indianapolis Black Expo. And man, they love what we were doing back then. And still to this day, I'm sure if I popped up in one of those, it would be the same love. But now it's more material now. So I look at doing 5 a year, where I'm not burnt out or whatever, because really I'm solo on it now because my partner, he's in Philadelphia. He's trying to get back into doing the comics again, which I'm sure he will be getting back in, Brother Khalil Panay. He'll be getting back in real soon. He's almost done with his story. I got my nephew, Caleb, which Shay, you know who Caleb is.
Yeah.
We get ready to start on his book real soon, and
Oh,
because I'm trying to get his ready for this Urban Nerd Con that I'm going to in July down in Atlanta, and trying to have his stuff ready for when I go down there. So trying to get him in, get Jerron, he getting into it too, so get him focused as well. So yeah, we're gonna be hitting more cons. So it's a matter of time.
this
So is
sounds like an independent, like selling mixtapes out the trunk. Got a lot of hip
Basically,
hop influence and how you
yes,
rhyme and moving. I
yes,
like it.
yes. I've done that all ever since I've started Urban Style Comics because that's the only way. Because you
Yeah,
got to think about it. Now you really don't have the bookstores. We didn't really
right.
have bookstores back then, but we had more than you do now. But I've always been one of them types that I'm selling out the trunk of my car.
Mm.
so is there a determining factor when you go to shows whether or not you decide, hey, you know what? I don't want to do this show anymore. This show is kind of this way, or oh, you know what? I'm gonna do this show. In fact, I'm gonna pour, you know, $300 into
Mhm.
printing, more inventory, for books, or like what is your determining factor whether or not you continue to do a show? And then also, we kind of asked Todd Johnson this before too, like how much do you take to a show in terms of
That's
like
a good
inventory?
question.
Well, it's several things. I'm not going to name this show particular or whatever, but I did a show last year. I think last year. Took my wife there, my dog, got a nice little hotel room. I'd done the show before and I made pretty good, but the show was only like a 2 day show back then. No, it was a 1 day show back then. So they ended up making it a 3 day show. And when I did it, I walked out with nothing. Think I sold maybe 5 books tops. I was really pissed off about it. The individual asked me at the Motor City Comic Con when he seen me, was I going to come back to the show again? And I told him, well, I'm thinking about it, which actually I will be on vacation at the time, but I don't think I will do that show again. Even though I had done well prior to that particular year. But if I have a bad year like that,
Mm.
a bad show, the chances of me doing that show again is very slim.
Mm.
Even if I did have a good show the year before.
Yeah.
Reason being because I see the direction that your show is going in, and it's not a direction that's going to be beneficial for me financially.
Mm.
Right.
As far as my books are concerned, I'm not one of these people that print out 50 books and go to a show and say, "Hey, I sold out." I'm not doing that because I've seen an individual do that a couple of months ago. They went to a show and then they posted all over social media that they sold out. So
Mm.
one thing about me, I'm not going to be all over social media telling people what I sold and all that kind of good stuff because really it's none of their business.
Mm.
And the thing is, if I'm doing good, I'm doing good, and people will know that. I just like to post pictures of how much fun I was having at the show. That
Mm.
fun calculates into the dollars that I made. If you see all the pictures, okay, all right, yeah, he's making pretty good. So I'm not going to sit up and say I made, $1,000, $2,000, $220. None of that. Not gonna do that. But needless to say, the determining factor is when I do a show and it's a bust, I may not ever do it again. As far as how many books I take, I also do merchandise as well. And I say that because why? Merchandise sells. You figure if the young ladies come to the table and say they're not into comics or whatever, they got their kids that want a book, they'll buy a book or a poster or print. But they'll turn around and see the T-shirts, be like, "Whoa, I think I want to get a T-shirt."
Mm-hmm.
So merchandise is everything. So people have to learn to build their merchandise up as well when they're out here doing the shows. Uh, but as far as how many books I have to take, I have to take more than enough to be honest. Not to, I don't take all my books to sell them out. I just take more than enough just in case I'm getting to the point of selling out. And selling out to me is like a good 500 books. I like to take over that amount. So when you take that, I like to at least sell over half, a little bit over half of that. Then I'm doing real good. Because if you look at like, say, the Motor City Comic Con, I'll throw that out there. The show is not really an expensive show, but it's a good show because you can take 700 to 1,000 books, sell half of them, and you've already made your lodging, your food, and your table. The whole thing is making all of that and then making more. Once you make more, then you're making money. That's my determining factor of why I would do Motor City Comic Con again. Now, I probably won't do it twice a year because they do have the event in October. The October show was pretty slow, but it was still good, lucrative, but it wasn't what it is in May. And the reason why I won't do it in October, do it twice a year, is because sometimes I may see the same people over and over, and I'm one of these people. I really don't like seeing same people over and over again, unless it's the fans or whatever. I like to see them over again, but sometimes you see people that's just walking by the booth all the time, which are the same people that's been walking by the past 5 years. It's
Right.
like, what's their purpose of even being here? Or you get those that come up to your booth and say, "What's this? Dude, you at a Comic Con. What do you think it is? Are you serious?" So needless to say, right. So needless to say, I like to take enough to try to sell out. That's the whole thing. If I have leftover books, then it is what it is. Because when I go to New York to the Black Comic Book Arts Festival, you will sell out. You have to take 1,000+ books there because if they're coming to every single table to buy something, you know, they are not playing around out there. There's a difference out there. And when when the doors opened this last time, I wasn't even expecting what happened. I was like, it was too much going on. But at the same time, I made it happen. I didn't, I didn't get nervous and say, "Oh, I can't do this." No. They came in. One little kid, he handed his mom 2 T-shirts. Bought both T-shirts. That's $50 right there.
Yeah.
You know, so I say that as far as the price is concerned, is because now we're looking at me making the money now. $8. Now we're looking at $25 selling it. What's that profit margin there? $17. So looking at that, that's when you're looking at making money.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to have your merchandise.
Exactly. You sell 4 T-shirts for $25. That's $100.
$100 right there. Now exactly. You haven't even sold a book yet. Now you're selling your book at $5 to $10.
Right.
Now you got your graphic novel you selling for $20.
Exactly.
And they're selling left and right.
So you wear a lot of hats too, Andre. How many hats do you wear? Like, what are all your jobs, especially being on the independent grind? Like, you have a lot of jobs. Like, could you give us a little bit of information on like how you're able to manage all of this by yourself, or do you reach out to support? Like, how do you do that?
Well, I do manage a lot myself or whatever, but I've also hired a lot of different freelance artists that work with me because I still continue to write my story or whatever. So, because until I can get someone or meet someone that can write damn near an exact story that I write, then I'll get another writer in. But I write most of my stories. I get different artists to work on different things. Obviously, I publish it myself. When I first started back in, the early 90s and whatnot, I was reading different books as far as self-publishing that I would get from not Barnes and Noble, but back then we had Borders Bookstore.
Yeah.
Went there, get my books on self-publishing and learning screenwriting. I was learning a whole lot, as far as that's concerned. So that taught me a lot as far as the self-publishing books. So I publish my books myself. I go out here and promote it myself. I've always been good on marketing and promotions because I was doing that even prior to the internet days. Because we'll go back to what we were saying earlier about selling out the trunk. I would pop up somewhere, somebody have a show or an event going on. Guess what? Guess who's in there? Me selling my comics. People like, wait a minute, comics don't have nothing to do with what we're doing here, but guess what? People are buying them. And this is what I do. So that helped get my fan base up quite a bit to the point where, kids that were 6 years old when their fathers and mothers was buying my books, they're now 30 years old saying, "Hey, I still got the first one that was in black and white." So that's a good thing to me. That's a beautiful thing to me. So all the hats that I wear, it's a lot of them. Trust me, it's almost as many baseball hats I actually have, but it's a lot. I got a lot of baseball hats.
So how long would you say because I hear varying things for people when it comes to like, for example, like how long it takes to do a comic page, but we're talking like different, but how long does it take on average for you guys to complete an issue of, let's say, Dreadlocks? Like, does it take a couple months? Does it take, a few weeks? Like, how does that go?
Actually, it really doesn't take long at all. It depends on, the approval rate. And or if the artists decide they just want to just draw what they want to draw and you're just gonna like it and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So if I'm one of these type of individuals. I feel that by me being an artist myself, I have to be able to tell a story without any words, if that makes sense.
It does.
Just with images only. So if I can tell a story with words, then we're getting somewhere. So if an artist try to hand me 2 pages and I don't see what's being conveyed here, guess what? He's got to draw them over again. Mm-hmm. So that may take a little time right there because I'm very, very strict on that. I'm stuck on that. Been like that for years. Even when I was drawing them myself, I didn't like this page. I don't like this page. But what it is, it may take me approximately, it could take me a month to 2 months tops to complete a whole book.
Oh, that's not bad.
If I let the artist just stay on it and he's conveying the message, and like I got one artist that I'm working with, his name is Ram. He already know exactly what to do. He gets on it, he get it done in a month if I let him. In a month, he can get it done just that quick.
And then of course, Irvin some ammo.
Right, right. Just that quick. I get to do my colors, but see, that's where the slowdown comes when I start doing the colors and highlights and all that good stuff and the dialogue. Right, that's when it slows up because I'm doing so much, outside of comics. I work for a living as well, and that takes up a lot of time. And when I come home and I like to get my colors in, and the thing is, I fall asleep right at the computer, and boom, I wake up later on like, whoa, what the hell am I doing in here? Sleep? I should be in the bed. Then I cut my computer off, save everything, leave it right where it is, and then get back on it, the next day or 2 days later.
So it sounds like, outside of you just wearing hats, you have a pretty good understanding of your vision. And how does that work? Like being because I know you sound like you color too. So you write, you draw, and you color. So you pretty much can do all the jobs that you need done. So it kind of helps you with the editing process with dealing with younger artists or artists in general. So what is like the biggest challenge working with people in regards to creating your vision?
Well, the biggest challenge, and I'm sure this is probably most creators and publishers or editors' biggest challenge, is when individuals come along, they want to change everything and make it what they want it to be. You have a lot of artists that come along, and, I think we should do it like this. This is not your project to think that this is what we're going to do. It's my project, so you're going to do exactly what I want to be done. So that can be a challenge as well. So you get a lot of artists that don't want to work with you because you telling them, you letting them know that, hey, only thing your name is going on is artist. That's it. You're not the creator. So we run into issues there, whereas some artists, they don't care. They're going to do exactly what you say as long as they're getting paid for it. They're freelance artists. That's why they're freelance artists, to do what you ask them to do, nothing more. Now, if they bring something that you never thought of, and you see that, wow, this is really dynamic and this is beautiful, let's work with it. If you see that, okay, that's not a challenge. You just upgraded me to a whole nother level. Whereas for the most part, that is a challenge with a lot of artists, dealing with different artists. They want to do what they want to do, and some want to charge you prices that, these big willies you're getting, and they're not even there yet, nowhere near
Jim
there.
Prices.
Right, Jim Lee or more. And it's like, you're not even there. I would never get a book out if I'm paying you $500, $600 a page. Are you serious?
Do you think maybe people sometimes do that when it's like the kind of the get out of my face price? Like, I really don't want to do it, so I'm just going to highball it so that you'll leave me alone?
I don't think they do that or whatever, because everybody loves money. Number one, that's number one. So they'll do anything as far as drawing it price wise. I think the rules, the standards have been set up, and I don't know who set the standard rules up as far as how much individuals should get paid for a page, but whoever set it up, that's what they follow, whether that's the case or not.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think we have any unions in this right here at all. Usually something like that is set up by a union. We don't have that.
So how do you, and that's a good question. That's something, I'm glad you brought that up, because I know me as a creator, when you're new, that's another thing that can be a barrier, is when you're coming in, you don't know like the business, because it's a creative business. It's like, I know we have a set standard now. I'm starting to learn that myself, but how did you navigate like how you sold product, or how much it cost, or how did you follow like the market value? Like, what was your process in figuring that out?
So the process that I follow basically is, first off, I see how much it costs me to print my books. That's the number one thing. The second, I'll venture off into the comic book stores to see how much they're selling their books for, you know, like $4.95 or whatever. Back then it was like $2 and some change, or $1.25. And I have to look at what I'm actually putting into this book as far as to get it printed. And I have to look at also what the mainstream is doing, how much they're actually putting in their books, which is little or nothing. Right. Where they're getting their books printed, which is little or nothing. I have to look at what they're doing, and then I have to look at what I'm doing. So when I look at what I'm doing, I have to factor my price based on that alone. Because once I see that, I know I can't meet those prices, because my book, I think the average comic now is like $4.95 or something in the comic book stores.
That's about right.
I couldn't sell my comic book at $4.95 or whatever, you know, unless I was just grabbing and going to, you know, to a show, and that was it. But I couldn't put it into a comic book store and sell it for that price, because of course the comic book store is going to want to knock off half of the money, you know, for a wholesale or even consignment. So once they knock that off, that puts you at $2.45, somewhere around there. But you spent $1.88 to get it printed. So you lose the money all the way around doing that. You know, some people will ask the question, you know, your book's in the comic book stores, blah, blah. And I'm going to be honest, the only reason why you put your book in the comic book store is just so people can see it, not to sell it, because you're not going to make any money there at all.
So where do you make most of your money? Is it
I make most of mine off the internet, my sales off my website store, and mostly it shows. Particular shows I make more. At more certain shows like I said, Black Comic Book Festival. I do pretty good at mine. Motor City Black Age and Motor City Comic Con, I did real good there. So mostly at the shows and what you make off the sales on the internet.